Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Meklord deck profile. So I'm really excited this week guys because it's been a while since I've actually updated this deck and I'm super excited to show you guys all the changes I've made to this build. This deck is absolutely crazy because it can OTK your opponent extremely easily by summoning out our crazy powerful boss monster, Meklord Astro Dragon Triskelion, which is an absolutely crazy powerful boss monster. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name searched in every single video, getting his signed cards in the mail, and even getting your requested deck profile every single month to your patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of our Meklord Astro Dragon Triskelion. This card is absolutely crazy powerful because of just how many attacks it can actually do. It has the ability it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing 3 Meklord monsters with different names from your graveyard. And then once per turn, when this card declares an attack, you can look at your opponent's extra deck and equip a monster from it to this card. And this card gains attack equal to the combined attack of those equipped monsters. And then when this card is equipped with a synchro monster, it can make 3 attacks on monsters during each battle phase, which is absolutely crazy that this card can get that massive because you can equip multiple monsters from your opponent's extra deck. And if they just so happen to be playing a synchro monster, this card can attack 3 monsters that your opponent controls, and it gets absolutely huge. We then play 2 copies of Meklord Emperor Weissel. Weissel is a great 2-of in the deck. I don't feel like you need any more than 2 copies of this card. It's super easy to summon to the field because it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned by its own effect and cannot be special summoned by other ways. When a face-up monster that you control is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a great effect just to be able to instantly get this card on your side of the field as a 2500 attack point monster. And other monsters you control cannot declare an attack, and then once per turn, you can target a synchro monster that your opponent controls and equip that target to this card, and this card gains attack equal to those monsters equipped to this card, which is really cool. And then once per turn, when an opponent's monster or when an opponent activates a spell card is activated, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it, which is the big effect that we're going to be using on this card to stop the opponent from using spell effects. Then play a single copy of Meklord Emperor Weissel Synchro Absorption. Synchro Absorption is a really good card, especially if your opponent is playing synchro monsters. It has the ability it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summon by its own effect, and during your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can send 1 face-up Meklord monster you control to the graveyard to instantly special summon this card in your hand. And you can only use the effect of this card once per turn, that if this card is special summoned, then you can target a monster that your opponent controls, and it cannot attack for the rest of the turn. And when a card or effect is activated that would destroy cards on the field, quick effect, you can tribute this card to negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card, which is a pretty good effect just to be able to protect your board. And then play 2 copies of Meklord Emperor Grenal. Grenal is a good 2-of that gets absolutely massive. It's very easy to summon to your field as well, kind of like your copy of Emperor Weissel, because it has the ability this card cannot be normal summoned or set, and this card must be special summoned by its own effect, and when a face-up monster you control is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, then you can special summon this card in your hand, and this card gains attack and defense points equal to half of your life points, which is a pretty good effect because if you summon this card out with 8,000 life points, it's going to come out at 4,000 attack points. I then play 3 copies of Meklord Nucleus Infinity Core. Infinity Core is a really good 3-of in the deck and a really good card in this deck because the first time this card would be destroyed by battle each turn, it is not destroyed. And you can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn, that if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a Meklord spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which comes in extremely handy to be able to grab your copy of Meklord Assembly directly from your deck to your hand. And if this card is destroyed by a card effect, then you can special summon a Meklord Emperor monster from your hand or deck with a different attribute from the monsters that you control, ignoring its summoning conditions, letting you get to your copy of Weissel or Grenal extremely easily. I then play 3 copies of Meklord Army Deployer. Meklord Army Deployer is a really good 3-of in the deck as well because it has the ability that during your main phase, you can activate this effect, destroy this card, and if you do, special summon out 2 Meklord Army monsters from your deck in defense position, except another copy of this card. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for machine monsters, which is totally fine in this deck because that's pretty much much all we're summoning out of the extra deck anyways, and all we're summoning in the main deck. It also has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can activate this effect that during the end phase of this turn, you can inflict 100 points of damage to your opponent for each Meklord monster that you control, which can help you out in time, which is really nice. And then play just a single copy of Army of Weissel. Army of Weissel is a really good one-of. You only need a single copy of this card to be able to summon off your Army Deployer. Play a single copy of Army of Granol. Army of Granol is kind of the same thing. You only need a single copy of this card for the name, so you can summon it off your copy of your Army Deployer. And then play 2 copies of Army of Skeel. Army of Skeel is really good in the deck because it does gain 200 attack for each face-up Meklord monster on the field except itself. And then when this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Meklord army monster from your deck, replacing itself, which is really nice. And then play 2 copies of Therion King Regulus. This card comes in extremely handy as a walking negate and an additional boss monster in the deck because it's really easy to summon and it's just super good because it lets you target a Therion monster or machine monster in the graveyard and then special summon this card from your hand and equip that monster to this card. And then it also has the ability that when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can send a Therion monster card from your hand or face from field to the grave to negate that effect, which is a great effect to be able to use on this card to be able to stop the opponent. I then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is just an absolutely insane hand trap and one of the best ones in the entire game to stop the opponent from searching the deck. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Therion Disc Coliseum. This card basically is an additional copy of our King Regulus because this card has the ability that basically when this card is activated, you can add 1 Therion monster from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect to be able to grab out your king directly from the deck. And then play a single copy of 1 for 1. 1 for 1 is really good because you can send a monster from your hand to the graveyard to special summon a level 1 monster from the deck, which can help out to get your copy of Infinity Core to your side of the field. And then play 2 copies of Limiter Removal. Limiter Removal just doubles the attack points of all of our machine monsters, making them absolutely massive and helping us go in for an OTK. I did consider playing this card as a 3 of in the deck, but 2 is totally fine. And then play 3 copies of Meklord Assembly. This is the searcher of the deck and it has a really good effect that when this card is activated, you can add a Meklord monster from your deck to your hand, and you can only activate 1 of the following effects of this card per turn, that you can discard a card and then target a monster you control and destroy it, which will activate the effects of Granol and Weissel to be able to special summon them to your side of the field. And if a face-up Meklord monster you control is destroyed by battle or by card effect, then you can target 1 other face-up spell or trap on the field and destroy it, which can come in handy. It's a really good effect on this card. I then play 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. Dark Ruler No More is really good to turn off your opponent's monsters effects and just a really good card overall. You won't be able to OTK your opponent when you activate this card because it negates the effects of all face-up monsters on the field, but your opponent doesn't take any battle damage for the rest of the turn, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it does come in handy to help break boards. I then play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. Pot of Extravagance is really good in this deck because you don't really need the extra deck all that much, so being able to get an additional draw too is very handy in this deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Meklord Astro the Eradicator. This card is just a really good one-of. I don't feel like you need any more than a single copy of this card because it is searchable, but it lets you target 3 Meklord monsters with different names in your graveyard and then add them to your hand or special summon them, ignoring their summoning conditions. Until the end phase of the next turn after this card is activated, you cannot special summon monsters except for machine monsters, which again isn't that big of a deal because that's all we're summoning anyways. And if you control a Meklord Astro monster, then you can manage this card from your graveyard and destroy a synchro monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the original attack of that card. So if your opponent is playing synchros, you can do a little bit of burn damage to them. I then play 3 copies of Torrential Tribute, which is actually a really good combo piece in the deck because some of our cards actually benefit off of being destroyed by card effects, which is really nice in this deck and helps you break boards that your opponent might be establishing so you can go in for an OTK. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, since this is a Pot of Extravagance build, we are going to be playing a lot of 2s and 3s in this particular extra deck, so let's get straight on into it. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Heavy Armored Train Iron Wolf. This card is really good because it can attack the opponent directly, helping you make out your copy of Zeus, which is so good to help you make Zeus in this particular deck. It has the ability also that once per turn, you can just detach material and target any machine monster that you control. In this turn, it can attack your your opponent directly. Also, other monsters you control cannot attack, which is the only downside to this card, that it basically locks you into attacking only with that monster, but it can come in handy to just let this monster attack directly and go in for a copy of Zeus during main 2. I then play 3 copies of number 27. Number 27 is really good. Dreadnought Dreadnought is so good in this deck because it's super easy to make, because at the end of the battle phase, if it destroyed an opponent's monster at battle, then you can special summon for your X deck a rank 10 or higher machine XZ monster using this face-up card you control as a material, which is really good because you can actually make Super Quantum Mech King Great Magius. This card is super easy to make, and if it has 2 materials on it, then once per turn during either player's main phase, then you can detach a material from this card and then shuffle a card from the field into the deck, and it doesn't target, which is so good on this card. Being able to just shuffle a card back into the deck off this card's effect is just so good and really easy to make this card with number 27. I then play 3 copies of Gustav Max. This card does 2,000 burn damage, which can help you close out a game. You can summon it with number 27 to be able to just do 2k burn damage during main 2, and then make your copy of Juggernaut Lieb. Lieb is really good because it's going to get absolutely massive and help you go in for game. It can attack multiple times, which is really nice. And then finally, 2 copies of Double A Zeus. Double A Zeus is a board wipe, which is really nice, but you have to watch out for this card because it does send the monsters to the graveyard. It does not destroy them, which won't activate any of our monster effects. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play with. If you guys have never played with Meklord before, you definitely should give this deck a try because it's really, really good for OTKing, and it's just really fun to be able to play. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, become part of Notification Squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.